All right, the time is 8:35. Then let's start the session. So I would like to formally welcome you to the A-level seminar organized by Nanaska Institute for your Commerce Stream Advanced Level Examination. And yesterday we have the accounting session. So when it comes to this seminar, we have 5 days for each subject. That means altogether 10 hours. And today is the first day for the business studies subject. When it comes to business studies, I'll be taking the first 2.5 days and the rest will be taken by Mr. Chaminda Vikramasinghe. So when it comes to the business studies, this seminar will be structured in a way, the first few sessions, more precisely the first 2.5 sessions will be allocated for the 3 critical areas which has not been tested most frequently by the examiner for the A-level examination. So we want to touch upon that to make sure you understand those areas and you know better than anyone when it comes to application of these areas. Those 3 areas are the Colombo Stock Exchange, foreign trade, and financial management. When it comes to Colombo Stock Exchange, I have already shared the slides in the WhatsApp group. When it comes to the foreign trade, the first set of slides are already shared in the WhatsApp group, and the rest along with the financial management content will be shared sooner before the next class. So that is about the first half of this 10 hours. And when it comes to the rest, it will be a model paper discussion with Mr. Chaminda. So he will be covering the 100% syllabus in a model paper, including these 3 critical areas. These 3 critical areas, first, we will go through in a way that you will understand the practical application. I'm pretty sure that you have learned this in your normal class, but what we are trying to do is we try to bring that practical application so that you will understand it better, and when you structure your answer on the exam paper, you will write a better answer than anyone else. And as an introduction to myself, my name is Obin Bimsara. I am a lecturer as well as the operations manager for the Nanaska Institute. Nanaska is one of the leading registered SEMA tuition provider in Sri Lanka, but not only for Sri Lankan students, but also from the foreign students. When it comes to SEMA qualification, I'm pretty sure you may have heard it because it is a qualification which has been there throughout. It is the world's largest professional body of management accountants, which is accepted over 190 countries. And in your A-level journey, you are trying to get into the state universities. If not, the fallout plan would be the private universities, because we all would like to take a bachelor's degree. Along with the bachelor's degree, we should have a professional qualification. That is where the SEMA will come in handy, because SEMA is an international qualification. Whether you want to stay in Sri Lanka or you want to go overseas, that qualification will bring you an immense value to your CV, to your personality, because SEMA is a qualification that will teach you about every aspect of the business. It can be accounting, it can be sales and marketing, it can be IT, it can be HR, it can be supply chain. Whatever the function will be taught in SEMA in a practical way. That is why professional qualification is important. If you ask what is the difference between an academic qualification and a professional qualification, it is where the professional qualification will teach you the practical application. The academic qualification will teach you the theory. And the academic qualification is where you will get it with a degree. That is why you are trying to get a high mark in your advanced level examination and trying to get selected to a state university, if not a private university. Along with an academic qualification, you need to have this professional qualification, because nowadays, every person would have an academic qualification, a degree, but not everyone has a professional qualification. You need to differentiate yourself. When you go to the job market, you need to show to the employer, look here, I have something different. It's not just the theory that I have learned, I know how to practically apply it into a given scenario. That is why you need to have a practical qualification like SEMA. And coming back to myself, my name is Obin Bimsara, and like you, I did my A-levels couple of years back, and I got selected to University of Colombo, Faculty of Management and Finance, and I specialized in business economics. But before completing A-levels, more precisely right after O-levels, I started my SEMA journey, and I was able to complete the SEMA qualification when I was 19. I am one of the youngest person to complete the SEMA qualification in Sri Lanka. And with that recognition, I got a lot of opportunities, right? I got the opportunity to work at Haley's Advantage. Then I worked at Unilever Sri Lanka. And now I am working at Nanaska as a lecturer as well as the operations manager. So you can see, even from my personal experience, I can tell you, I can brand myself mostly with SEMA than the degree I have. Right now, I am reading for my MBA, as well as I'm a member of CIM, Chartered Institute of Marketing. But anything else that I have would be a little bit lesser than what I have completed with SEMA. Because whenever I say that, look here, I have completed the SEMA qualification when I was 19, then everybody would give me a big recognition, because they know for a fact SEMA is a qualification which is a little bit hard to acquire. And if you are a SEMA person, everyone would know that you have the right knowledge to apply it to the right place. So when it comes to managing A-levels and SEMA right now, I would say start SEMA right after A-levels, because this is not the high time to concentrate on two things. You need to give your undivided 100% attention on A-levels. Right after A-levels, we'll be starting a new batch. Maybe you can join with that. But right now, since you are in the age of completing the A-level examination, I would recommend you to focus on the A-level. But if you are doing the A-level later on, not in next year, maybe you can give it a try, but try to understand A-level is sort of a benchmark in your life. Even after A-levels, you can do SEMA, right? There is no hurry. But when it comes to A-levels, that is mostly a one-time chance. Some students are sitting for the second time, but give it for the first time, 100% commitment to get the best results out of it, so that it will be giving you a sort of an opportunity to get selected to a state university, and it will add an immense value to you as well. I'm not telling that academic qualification is not important. Wrong. You need to have an academic qualification, but along with that, as a complementary qualification, you need to have a professional qualification, which will come in handy. So that is about the introduction that I would want to give. And I would like to emphasize, the program is structured in a way, the first 5 hours are allocated for the 3 critical areas which has not been tested in a fine manner by the examiner for your A-level BS paper, the business studies paper. And the last 5 hours will be allocated to a model paper discussion. All right. So that is about the introduction. And any questions other than the ones I have got? All right, then I believe we are good to start. Great. So when it comes to Colombo Stock Exchange, but before going for the Colombo Stock Exchange, why do we need a stock exchange, or what is the purpose of having a stock exchange? When it comes to public limited companies, right, when they are expanding themselves, they need to have further capital for the expansion, to come up with new products or to do changes to the existing product portfolio. For that, they need to get investors. With the purpose of getting investors, they need to list themselves in a stock exchange. So the Colombo Stock Exchange is there to list the public limited companies, giving the opportunity for the listed companies to sell shares to the general public and collect money, collect funds. When it comes to the Colombo Stock Exchange, what will happen is a company will list in the stock exchange and they will sell shares. You and I can buy the shares and become the owners while giving them money. We will get the shares from the company and the company will get the money from us. It will be an exchange. So the Colombo Stock Exchange is the only stock exchange available in Sri Lanka for the public listed companies to sell and buy shares. The Colombo Stock Exchange is a limited by guarantee company where the entity does not have shareholders but has guarantors or the members. Guarantors own the stock exchange and they are liable to pay a minimal fee at the wound up. If something goes wrong, they are liable to pay a minimal fee as a settlement fee. And currently, there are 288 listed companies in the Colombo Stock Exchange representing 19 sectors. When it comes to banking, the health, hospitality, likewise, there are 19 different sectors representing 280 companies. And the Colombo Stock Exchange is located in World Trade Center. So what is the history? Back in 1896 was the incorporation year for the Colombo Stock Exchange, but at that time it was named as the Share Brokers Association. Until 1985, this was named as Share Brokers Association, and since 1985, it was renamed as Colombo Stock Exchange. So coming back to what a Colombo Stock Exchange is, this is the main and only stock exchange in Sri Lanka to administrate the buying and selling shares of the public listed companies in Sri Lanka. Just give me a second. I can't see the chat box with this view. All right, this way is good. All right. So I told you a term called company guarantee, company limited by guarantee. That means the Colombo Stock Exchange is owned by guarantors or the members. Currently, there are 15 members as such own the Colombo Stock Exchange. And those are the Bartley Treliga Securities, Equity Stockbrokers, John Kill Stockbrokers, Asha Securities, JB Securities, Lanka Securities, Assetline Securities, SC Securities, Asia Securities, Capital Trust Securities, CLSA Securities, First Capital Equities, NDB Securities, Nation Lanka Equities, and Somerville Stockbrokers. So these are the guarantors who own the Colombo Stock Exchange. If something goes wrong, their liability would be the minimal charge or the minimal amount they have agreed, so that liability doesn't go to their personal belongings, personal assets. So these are the members who own the Colombo Stock Exchange, or else we can call them as the guarantors, because The Colombo Stock Exchange is a company limited by guarantee, no shareholders, but only the guarantors. And what are the types of securities that we can see which is traded in the Colombo Stock Exchange? Ordinary shares. When it comes to ordinary shares, it has two types as voting and non-voting. When it comes to ordinary shares, most of the time, whenever there is a settlement, the ordinary shares will be settled at last resort. And some of them has the voting power where when it comes to decision making in the company, you will get a say in that. You will get a vote in that. When it comes to changing something or making a decision, it has to be passed by the majority. For that, you have your vote. But there are some kind of ordinary shares without that voting power. You have both the share, but you don't have a say in the decision making. Same as the preference shares. The preference shares name itself say the preference. Why are we giving the preference, or how are we getting the preference? When it comes to settlements, when it comes to dividends or any return, you will be getting it before the ordinary shareholders. The ordinary shareholders will be paid at last, but before that, the preference shareholders will be settled. That is why we call it as preference shares. The preference shares anyway don't have the voting power. They will get the return. The risk is minimal because you are not settled at the last. But when it comes to ordinary shares, the risk is a little bit higher because you are settling at the last. Preference shares, you will be given a preference over the rest because you will be settled before the ordinary shares. But then again, you don't have the voting power in the decision-making process. Then we have debentures. Debentures are a debt instrument which does not protected by any collateral or any securities. Because of that, the risk is high. When you want to get a debenture from a company, you need to see the credit worthiness, the brand name, the reliability of the company. You can't buy debentures from any company. You need to make sure the company is a legit one, a solid one, will not go bankruptcy in the near future because your investment is not protected by a collateral or a security. That is why you are getting a high return due to the high risk. When it comes to the treasury bonds and treasury bills are also falling under debentures. And then the rights issue. Rights issue means the existing shareholders will get the right to buy shares at a lesser price. In a numerical example, let's say company ABC is listed in Colombo Stock Exchange, and currently the share price is 50. The share price is 50. The current price is 50. And you are issuing a right issue 40. That means for the existing shareholders, let's say the numbers would be for the existing shareholders, they can buy 4 shares for the one ordinary share they have. 4 shares, 4 rights for the one ordinary share they have. So they can save 10 rupees by getting the rights. But then again, before issuing the right to the existing shareholders, it will be traded in the stock exchange for 2 weeks. Within this 40 to 50 gap, it will be traded in the stock exchange, and whoever wants to buy, they can buy the rights at a lesser price. So instead of buying the shares at 50 rupees of the ABC company, they can buy it at 40, 42, 46, 47. Still, it would be worthy because you are saving somewhat. So that is what we call as a right issue, where you are giving the right to the existing shareholders to buy shares at a lesser price as per the stake they have in the company. Then warrants. Warrants is also a type of a right issue, but you are not buying it now. You will buy the shares in future. How it will work? So when it comes to warrants, you are getting the right not an obligation. You are getting the right to buy shares at a committed rate, at an agreed rate in a future mentioned date. Let's say the today is 17th of December. You are agreeing to buy the shares at 40 rupees on 31st of December. On 31st of December. Let's assume by 31st of December, the share price has gone up to 50. The share price has gone up to 50. But you have the right to buy shares at that committed rate, which is 40. And because of that, you can save 15 rupees. So that is a warrant, a type of a right issue. So these are the main types of securities that are traded in the Colombo Stock Exchange. And when it comes to the Colombo Stock Exchange, there should be a governing body to make sure whatever happens in the Colombo Stock Exchange is legit and clear. For that matter, to govern the Colombo Stock Exchange, we have the governing body, Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, SEC. And their mission is to promote, develop, and maintain a capital market that is fair, efficient, orderly, and transparent. So the Securities and Exchange Commission is there to make sure the investors, the listed companies, the stockbrokers, and everyone who is involved in the Colombo Stock Exchange is protected and they are doing legal transactions. No shady activities, no under the table transactions. Everything is crystal clear and everyone is protected from any unpleasant or illegal activities. For that matter, the governing body is there as the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the prevailing act is the Securities and Exchange Commission Act number 19 of 2021. So the object and the purpose of the act would be to establish the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. So as per the act, you need to have a governing body, and that governing body is Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, to create, maintain, and regulate a fair, orderly, efficient, and transparent securities market, which we can see even in the mission itself. So they want to make sure everything is legal, everything is transparent as crystal clear, nothing shady, right? Everyone should be protected from any illegal matter. To protect the interest of local and foreign investors. So most of the investors are involved in the Colombo Stock Exchange because they want to buy and sell the shares of the listed organizations. In that matter, we need to make sure that they are getting the right price, they have the right information about the listed companies, and they are well aware about the transactions they are conducting. For that, the act is there. To ensure the maintenance of high professional standards in the provision of services in relation to securities market, because this is the only and main stock exchange in Sri Lanka. To stay within the international standards, to stay within the international expectations, we need to keep that professionalism. We need to keep that standard, because not only Sri Lankans, even the foreigners can invest in the public listed companies in Sri Lanka, which we will be discussing at the latter part of these slides. In that case, we need to make sure that everyone is maintaining the required standard so that nothing unshady, nothing shady will happen in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Moving forward, for that matter, there is a board of directors at Colombo Stock Exchange. Like in an organization, we have the governing body as the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. But to run the show, we have a set of board of directors like shown in this hierarchy. And this includes 9 directors, including the chairman. 4 directors are elected and 3 directors are appointed. Even the chairman is elected. So how it will happen? When it comes to the elected directors, they are being elected from the stockbrokers. The representatives from the stockbrokers will come forward and they will be elected. And out of them, one will be picked as the chairman. But when it comes to appointed directors, the appointments will be made by the finance minister accordance with the provisions in the Securities and Exchange Commission. So out of 9 board of directors, 5 are elected directors. Within that, we can find the chairman himself. And the rest of the 3 directors are appointed by the minister. So the board of directors will be there to run the show. But when it comes to the governing body, we have the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. And then we have another part, Central Depository System, CDS, Colombo Stock Exchange and Central Depository System. So it's simple as this. Think CDS as the accountant in Colombo Stock Exchange. That is simple as that. Because Central Depository System is a fully owned subsidiary of Colombo Stock Exchange, acting as the intermediary or middleman between the investor and the Colombo Stock Exchange, working as an intermediary as well as a clearing house. And they have 3 actions to be taken. Depository operations. What do you mean by depository operations? When you and I want to invest in public listed companies in Colombo Stock Exchange, we need to open an account, like we are opening a savings account in a bank. We need to open an account, and that account is called CDS account. So the accounts are maintained by them. By creating an account, we will be eligible to buy and sell shares. All our transactions will be recorded in that CDS account. Let's say that we are going to buy 100 shares from Haley's PLC. Next day, we are going to sell 50 shares out of that. So the transactions will be recorded in the CDS account that we are going to open. So the depository option or the operation will be conducted by this. Then post-trade settlement. The post-trade settlement are when it comes to the equity transactions, when it comes to the debt transactions, those kinds of transactions will be supported by the CDS for the listed companies, as well as they will provide the corporate solutions such as assisting to conduct an AGM. What do we mean by AGM? Annual General Meeting. Annual General Meeting is the forum where the board of directors and the shareholders will meet annually to discuss the progress of the organization. And why do we need to have a such forum? Because the shareholders are the owners of the organization. Let's say that I want to buy 1,000 shares from Haley's PLC. I would create a CDS account with a help from the stockbroker. I'm going to buy shares. But does it mean that I will involve in the day-to-day operations of Haley's PLC? No. I will own 1,000 shares and become an owner. But still, I don't know what happens in the organization. Only board of directors know it, because they are the ones who are running the show. In that case, to make the shareholder aware about what is happening in the organization and giving them opportunity to question the board of directors, we have the annual general meeting. So the annual general meeting is the forum where the board of directors and the shareholders will meet annually to discuss the proceedings of the organization. For that, in order to organize an AGM, the CDS will support. And in terms of releasing dividends, dividends means the portion that you will give to the shareholders out of the profit that you will make in the organization. When it comes to public listed companies, out of the profit you have made, one portion need to be given to the shareholders as dividends. Dividends is one way you can get returns out of your investments. There are two ways that you can gain returns by investing in stocks, either dividends, either capital gains. Dividends coming from the profit itself. Capital gains means when the share price is going up, you can sell it at a higher price and get a profit. For example, let's say that Haley's PLC stock is currently selling at 10 rupees per share, and you have bought one share. For simple example, one share for 10 rupees. And in next year, December, let's assume the share price has gone up to 20. At that time, if you sell the share at 20, you can gain a profit of 10 rupees. That is what we call as capital gain. Or let's assume you don't sell it, you keep it, and at the end of that financial year, board of directors will decide to release 5 rupees of dividends per share. In that case, your return will be 5 rupees. So there are two ways in which you can gain returns from the stocks that you have invested. One is the dividends and the other one is capital gains. When it comes to releasing dividends to the owners, you can get the assistance from the central depository system. So in simple terms, central depository system is the accountant in Colombo Stock Exchange who act as an intermediary as well as a clearing house for the Colombo Stock Exchange. Whenever we want to invest, first we need to create a CDS account. Then you need to take the assistance from the stockbrokers. Stockbrokers will advise what are the stocks to be investors and what are to be left out. And based on their recommendations and the support, you can buy and sell shares through the CDS account. Moving forward, what are the different ways that a company can list themselves in the stock exchange? First way is initial public offering. Initial public offering means when you list yourself, you issue shares to the general public for the first time. Let's say company ABC, it is going to be listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange. When they are doing so, they issue shares to the general public with the purpose of raising funds, and they are doing it for the first time. So we call it as initial public offering or IPO. This is one way that you can list yourself. When you are doing the listing, you release or issue shares to the general public for the first time. Then the other way is offer for sale. That means you have already issued shares, but after that, you will do the listing. That means you have already issued shares even before listing yourself in the Colombo Stock Exchange or even in any stock exchange. But now you bring those stocks to the Colombo Stock Exchange and list yourself. You call it offer for sale. And the last way is introduction. When it comes to introduction, you list yourself, right? You list yourself in the stock exchange, but you don't issue anything. You don't issue stocks. You just list yourself in the Colombo Stock Exchange. So these are the three ways in which you can list yourself in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Either you go ahead with an IPO where when you do the listing, you issue shares to the general public for the first time. Or you have already issued shares, but now you are getting yourself listed, offer for sale. Or you list yourself and you don't issue any share at all. introduction. And some recent examples when it comes to IPOs, one classic example is the Prime Group. Prime Group is one of the largest real estate organizations in Sri Lanka, which is expanding rapidly. In main cities in Colombo and suburbs, you can see that they have multiple apartment projects going on, which are already completed or else in the process of the completion. And they have their luxury apartment in Colombo 7, they call it the Grand. And the starting price of an apartment is 60 million. To that extent, they have apartments and they have categorized their apartments as low, middle, and high categories. In order to get more funds for this expansion, they list themselves in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Since they are heavily involving in many constructions, many projects, they required funds. So they listed themselves for the first time in this year. So their target was issuing 100 million shares. And at the same time, they were oversubscribed. That means the general public requested more than 100 million shares, even though they expected only that much. So that is one of the classic examples that we can bring when it comes to an IPO in Colombo Stock Exchange. Because if you have noticed, when you look at the TV, the papers, newspapers, the radio, even in mobile applications, different advertisements, Facebook to Instagram to everywhere, they advertised themselves with the purpose of getting funds, and they were succeed. Another one is, which is right now going on, H-Zenit Business Solutions, another tech company which is providing some outsourcing activities and some tech services to different businesses. So in that case, they also are in the process of getting themselves listed through an IPO. So what they are doing, they are issuing ordinary voting shares, and they have offered 55,339.76 new shares, and the IPO price is, the per share price is 12 rupees and 50 cents. And the funds to be raised 691,738,450. IPO opening date is 3rd of December, and the minimum investment should be 100 shares. If you want to invest on H-Zenit, your minimum investment should be 100 shares. That means 100 into 12.5, 1,250. And they were also oversubscribed, but still they are still in the process. They haven't even closed the prospects. So we can see, when you want to get more funds for the future expansions, one of the ways you can do is list yourself in the Colombo Stock Exchange, and get the funds from the general public. Even for the government, that is what they are doing with the treasury bonds and treasury bills. When the government requires some funds for different purposes, for the government expenditures, they just issue government bonds and treasury bonds and treasury bills to the general public. The general public will give money to the government, and government will issue the bill certificate, the bond certificate. So this is a good way that you can raise money when it comes to expanding yourself. The three main ways would be the initial public offering, offer for sale, and introduction. All right, then we are coming to different boards in Colombo Stock Exchange. When it comes to list yourself in the Colombo Stock Exchange, you will be putting into different boards depending on your current status. Mainly, there are two boards as the main board and the Dirisavi board. The main board comprise the companies with larger stated capital. When it comes to companies with limited stated capital, the Dirisavi board will be there. And there will be criteria for you to satisfy in order to be listed in these boards. You should remember these criteria because the examiner will ask questions on those. When it comes to the main board, company capital should be at least 500 million rupees. Companies which has a capital at least 500 million rupees or above can come to the main board. Profits should have been earned before tax continuously for at least 3 previous years before the day of applying to be listed. So when it comes to 2021, let's say that you are going to list yourself now. 3 years before the 2021 should be a period where you have earned a profit before tax, and it is mandatory in order to be listed in the main board, right? 3 years of profit before tax continuously before the listing year. The net assets of the business should be confirmed by the audited financial reports the nearest 2 years before the day of applying to be listed. So 2021, you are going to list yourself. Before 2021, at least for 2 years, you need to confirm your net assets with the audited final reports confirming, look here, they have this much of net assets. At least 25% of the shares issued should belong to the public. So when it comes to issuing shares, it's obviously the owners themselves can buy the shares and keep their ownership stake. But when it comes to the main board, at least 25% of the stake of the business should be owned by the general public. And a couple of examples from the main board can be the Haley's PLC, Access Engineering, and Expo Lanka. There are quite more. And when it comes to Dirisavi board, where the company with limited stated capital, the criteria would be company capital should not be less than 10 million rupees. So the companies with at least 10 million rupees or above can list themselves in the Dirisavi board. At least 10% of shares issued should be belong to the public. So at least 10% of your ownership stake should be owned by the general public. The net assets of the business should be confirmed by the audited final reports for the final year, which is before the day of applying to be listed. Okay, so it is there for the year, at least for the year, not for 2 years like in the main board. The active time period of the company should be at least 2 years. So it has to be at least 2 years old organization in order to be listed in the Dirisavi board. So these are the main 2 boards, and there are some more as well. Empower board, this is the newest board introduced in the Colombo Stock Exchange. This is dedicated for the small and medium scale enterprises so that they can foster more capitals and gain more opportunities to grow themselves. A company would be Chris World is listed in the Empower board. So here we can find the small and medium scale enterprises. And then we have second board. These are the organizations which cannot list themselves in the main board and their minimum capital is 40 million rupees. Either 40 million or above that, capital is there, but they can't list themselves in the main board due to some reasons because they are not meeting either one of these criteria. Then we have the watch list board. So these are the companies who violate or do not follow the conditions of listing. So when it comes to these listing conditions, they do not follow these, either they violate these. Because of that, they have been put into a different board called watch list. And Blue Diamond Jewelry is one of the organizations which is listed in the watch list board. And in the second board, we can find Odell. So that is about the main boards and the other boards in Colombo Stock Exchange. Any questions so far? Yes, you can say all clear. If not, you can raise any questions. Okay. How about others? Lovely. Okay, moving on. Then we are coming to discuss the performance measurement of Colombo Stock Exchange. How are we going to measure the performance of Colombo Stock Exchange? That is basically, how are we going to measure the performance of the listed companies in Colombo Stock Exchange? For that, we are using different indices to measure the performance of the securities exchange in Colombo Stock Exchange. When it comes to indices, mainly we have two, ASPI and S&P, All Share Price Index and Standard & Poor Price Index, which measure the performance of the main 20 organizations, the largest 20 listed organizations in Sri Lanka. And this index is real-time calculated, and it is taking the market capitalization weighted index. You have the base year, which is the foundation. From the base year to the present, whether the prices has gone up, prices has gone down, or it has remained constant, you will be calculating when you are presenting these indexes. When it comes to all share price indexes, you will be seeing the performance of all the organizations. It's a broader market index, all share price index. But when it comes to Standard & Poor 20 index, you are considering only the top 20 listed organizations in Colombo Stock Exchange and measure their performances. Time to time, they are changing. So you can see the time is there from 11 to 12:15. I was preparing the slides in the morning hours, but it has been changed now since we are in evening. So in terms of measuring the performances, we have different indices. Mainly, we have the All Share Price Index and the Standard & Poor Index. And these two indexes will tell us the performance of the securities exchange in Colombo Stock Exchange. All Share Price Index, the name itself, all, that means it measures the performance of all the listed organizations. But when it comes to Standard & Poor, it will measure only the top 20 organizations or listed companies in Colombo Stock Exchange. So I use this word market capitalization. What do we mean by market capitalization? Market capitalization means the total value of issued shares in the Colombo Stock Exchange by the listed organization. Let's say that, for an example, 3 entities, company A, company B, company C. 10 million shares, 20 million shares, 20 million shares. 10, 20, 20, 50 shares. 50 shares are issued in this stock exchange. And let's say 1 share equals to 2 rupees. 2 into 50, 100 million. So 100 million is the market capitalization in that stock exchange. So the market capitalization means the total value of issued shares of the listed companies in Colombo Stock Exchange. It can be calculated for the Colombo Stock Exchange as well as for the company. because you are aware how many shares you have issued in your organization. You are aware per share price, calculate the per share price and multiply it by the number of issued shares. You will take the market capitalization. Currently, the market capitalization of Colombo Stock Exchange is 4,529.29 billion rupees, and the main companies, or rather in terms of market capitalization, the largest listed companies in Colombo Stock Exchange are Expolanca, which has 742 billion plus market capitalization. Then LOLC Holdings, which has 545 billion plus rupees. Then in third place, Brown's Investments, 202 billion rupees plus. In fourth place, John Keel's Holdings, 192 billion plus rupees. And in the fifth place, Commercial Leasing and Finance with 188 billion plus rupees. So you can see, when it comes to market capitalization, all these organizations which I mentioned just now are service organizations, or into the finance sector. John Keel's has few of the manufacturing or production areas, but mainly almost all of these organizations are into services. And that is one of the main problems in the Sri Lankan economy. We are lacking with manufacturing, but we are quite strong in services. What we don't have is the manufacturing, and that has to be developed. And right after the war in 2009, we witnessed a post-war boom in the Colombo Stock Exchange. And for the first time in the history ever, Colombo Stock Exchange hit 1 trillion rupees in terms of market capitalization back in October 2009. And that was mainly due to the post-war condition, because right after the civil war, which we had to experience unfortunately for 30 years, even the local investors as well as the foreign investors suddenly invested a lot on the Colombo Stock Exchange, expecting that economy will expect a boom, economy will reach to the roof. Because of that, the market capitalization hit 1 trillion rupees for the first time ever in history back in October 2009. So the market capitalization means the total value of issued shares of listed companies in the Colombo Stock Exchange. So we know that what are the companies listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange and how many shares they have issued and what is the per share price. By doing the calculation and the sum, you can take the market capitalization for the Colombo Stock Exchange. As well as at the same time, you can do the same for the individual organizations as well, which I explained right now. The 5 highest market capitalization entities are given below, because entity wise we know how many shares are in trade and what is the price. Then we are coming to discuss foreign investments on Colombo Stock Exchange. Even earlier I mentioned you, not only local investors, even the foreign investors can invest on Colombo Stock Exchange. There is no constraint or restraint for them, except a couple of restricted companies. Otherwise, any foreign investor can buy shares of a local listed company in the Colombo Stock Exchange. For that, they need to have a special account open with a licensed commercial bank, which we call as Share Investment External Rupee Account, a Sierra account, in order to buy shares in the Colombo Stock Exchange listed companies. For a foreigner, they need to have a Sierra account. And in terms of the return they are getting or the income they would generate, for example, the dividends or the interest, that income will not be subjected to the exchange control regulations by the Sri Lankan government. And back in June 2021, for the first time ever, we have hosted a virtual forum to attract foreign investors with a collaboration by the Colombo Stock Exchange, the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, and Ceylon Chambers of Commerce. So these three entities got together and hosted a virtual forum with the intention of attracting the foreign investors. So these three guys all together explain the current condition in Sri Lanka, the performances of the local listed organizations and their future. So with that, they try to sell many as much as possible shares to the foreign investors and make them lucrative for the foreign investors. And that is about the foreign investments. Remember that there is no restrictions for the foreign investors to buy or sell shares in Colombo Stock Exchange, but there are some restricted companies due to some reasons. But other than that, on the surface, they can buy or sell shares, but for that, they need to have a Sierra account open with a licensed commercial bank. The importance of Colombo Stock Exchange for an economy. Encouraging individuals and institutions for investments. So the Colombo Stock Exchange is there to administrate the buying and selling of the shares in listed organizations. So when it comes to individuals or for other organizations, they can buy and sell shares of the listed organizations as an investment. They can buy share as an investment to experience a capital gain. They will sell those shares at a higher price to gain out of the investment. Investors can enjoy various benefits by investing in Colombo Stock Exchange. When it comes to investing in Colombo Stock Exchange, right, even in any stock exchange, you can gain high benefits, high returns, but at the same time, the risk can be higher as well. And also, a listed organization means a legit organization. Without having proper course of action, you can't list yourself. Without having a proper process in your business, you can't list yourself. That means your investment is reliable and secure. Companies get the opportunity to collect a large capital, which I explained even from the example of Prime Group. They are in the phase of expanding themselves with multiple constructions and multiple different projects. For that, they need funds. Obviously, the owners can't give everything. So they list themselves through an IPO with the intention of acquiring larger capital from the general public. Ability to attract foreign investors to the country. So you can take foreign investments, attract dollars, attract pounds to the Sri Lankan economy by letting them to buy the local listed companies' shares at the Colombo Stock Exchange. The government can sell government securities to raise funds. In terms of the treasury bonds, the treasury bills, or any other type of securities offered by the government, they can do the transactions in the Colombo Stock Exchange. They can sell those and raise funds for the government expenditure, creating a value for company shares. When you are listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange, it will give you an immense value. At the same time, you can increase your goodwill as well, because as I mentioned earlier, it is not easy to get yourself listed in Colombo Stock Exchange. It is a cumbersome process. If you have done it, if you have followed it, that means your business is having a proper process and it is in the right track, which will give you a better goodwill from the customers, from the investors, from anyone else, as well as it will increase your stock price as well. Because The investors will get the security, will be secured because their investment is happening through a stock exchange. So by listing yourself in the stock exchange can increase your share price as well. So these are the importance, a couple of importance of Colombo Stock Exchange to the economy. Then we are coming to discuss the last area, the bull market and the bear market. These are two different conditions that we can experience in a exchange, a securities exchange. Bull market and bear. Bull is sort of a aggressive animal, isn't it, compared to a bear. A bull market is where the economy is reaching to the boom. Economy is expanding. And as a result, the stock prices are also rising. The company stock prices are also rising. Since the economy is booming, you need to expand your operations in the business. For that, you need more people to do the production and carry out the services. So the employment level is high. Employment level is high. The investor's mindset is very optimistic. Why? The stock prices are going up, so we need to buy more shares. Hence, there is a strong demand and weak supply for securities. The security prices are going up so that investors would like to buy more shares, but the people who have shares don't like to sell. Why? Because the share prices are going up. Since the share prices are going up, the people who like to buy would love to buy it, but the people who have it don't like to sell it. So this is a positive situation. The economy is going up, the stock prices are going up, and the employment level is high. And as a result, there is a strong demand for the securities, but a weaker supply for securities. The totally exact other side, the mirror view, is the bear market. In the bear market, economy is declining, maybe in a recession. Due to that, stock prices are also coming down. Since the economy is coming down, your business might be shrinked. You don't have to do a larger operation. You have to do only a smaller operation because the economy is not doing well. As a result, unemployment level is high. Unemployment level is high. In a bear market, the investors are having a pessimistic mind. A pessimistic mind. Since the prices of the stocks are coming down, there is a weak demand for securities, but a strong supply for securities. So the people who like to buy shares in this market would not demand it because the share prices are coming down. And the people who have the shares already would like to sell it as soon as possible before it moves further down. So the supply is high. In a bear market, economy is coming down. The stock prices are coming down. Since the economy is not doing well, unemployment is rising, and there is a weaker demand for the stocks, but a strong supply for securities. So this is the difference between the bull market and the bear market. And then the last area in this chapter is the stock markets in the world. So far we have been discussing the Colombo Stock Exchange, and now I'm going to give a quick introduction to the main 5 stock markets in the world. In terms of the market capitalization, the world's largest stock market is the New York Stock Exchange. Then we have the Tokyo Stock Exchange. In the 3rd place, we have the London Stock Exchange. After that, Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and finally the Shanghai Stock Exchange. In US, apart from the New York Stock Exchange, there is another stock exchange called Nasdaq. This is sort of a different one. In Nasdaq, most of the tech companies are listed. For example, Apple, Airbnb. Then when it comes to Facebook, or now it is called Meta, those kind of tech companies are listed in Nasdaq. But in terms of the market capitalization, world's largest stock exchange is New York Stock Exchange. So these are the things that I wanted to emphasize in terms of the stock exchanges, Columbus Stock Exchange, for your business studies paper in the A-level examination. Any questions? Any questions? Can I get a quick confirmation whether it is all clear or any questions? All right, received a couple of feedbacks. Can I get more to proceed with the next area? Yes, others? Okay, all right. So that is about the Columbus Stock Exchange, and the next area is foreign trade. But before going for foreign trade, shall we take a 5 minutes break and we'll meet at 9:46 to refresh ourselves before going for the next area? Does that sound good? Or you want me to proceed? Sorry, I remember it as 10 o'clock. We have time till 10:30. So let's take a 10 minutes break, and the time is 9:41, let's say 40. Let's meet again at 9:50 then. Okay. All right. So from 9:50, we'll be talking about foreign trade. Thank you. All right, shall we start the class? Can I get a quick confirmation that you are back? Are you all here? Okay. Getting a couple of responses. I believe the rest are also here. With that expectation, I'm going to start the next critical area, which is the foreign trade, or we can call it as international trade. But before going for that, I actually forgot something. Let me show you a quick video in terms of the Colombo Stock Exchange, a quick brief to the Colombo Stock Exchange and how you can buy shares from the Colombo Stock Exchange listed companies.
The stock market is a fascinating financial trading market where traders buy and sell shares of companies while strengthening our financial world. At some point in your life, you too might have spent time thinking that you can become a part of this, but backed off as it felt like it was too complicated. Well, we have some good news for you. We can help you out with that. What are shares? When the capital of a company is divided into equal units, that one unit is called a share. A share represents the ownership of a company, and when you buy a share, you invest in the future growth of that company. Why should you invest in shares? Firstly, to get an income. Secondly, to be a shareholder. Income can be in the means of capital growth, which is the profit you obtain through share price fluctuations, or it could be in the form of dividend income, which companies pay their shareholders. Both capital gains and dividend are absolutely tax-free. Investing in shares brings you voting privileges, high liquidity, and relaxed taxes, apart from other benefits such as right issues, capitalization of reserves, share splitting, and scrip dividends. As any other investment, share investments also carries a risk. However, this risk can be minimized by having the proper education on share investment. Nonetheless, selecting the most promising shares is the best method to increase the benefits and to decrease the risks. Let's see how to select the shares. 1. Understand your level of risk and decide what is appropriate. 2. Take advice from your registered investment advisor and follow broker research. 3. Use trading charts to understand movement of stocks and the overall market. 4. Take decisions based on share valuation techniques. 5. The ultimate decision in investing lies with you. Selecting the most suitable share will not be enough. While you select the most suitable share, it is of utmost importance to maintain an outstanding and diversifying portfolio. It will help you to balance risk by diversifying your assets so that over time it will reduce the volatility of your portfolio. Now that you have a basic understanding about investing in stocks, let's understand the role played by Colombo Stock Exchange in this process. The Colombo Stock Exchange is the only stock market and regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. CSE has a proud history of more than 3 decades in the Sri Lankan capital market, with over 280 listed companies representing 19 GICS industry groups, including energy, food, retail, finance, insurance, and many more. Doesn't sound complicated now, does it? So, start your share investment journey. Download the CSE mobile app. Open a CDS account. Start trading. To know more details, log on to www.cse.lk and be a part of the top 1%.
So as the video mentioned, that you first have to start a CDS account, and after that you need to get along with a stockbroker. You need to get the advisors from the stockbroker, what are the most preferred shares to be invested, and based on that advice you can do your investment. There were 2 terms share splitting, split shares, and scrip dividends. The definitions would be the split shares, as the name say, you're splitting the existing condition. Let's say that you have one share, company want to expand more capital, to raise more capital, you can divide the share into different shares and make more. Let's say that you are dividing it half-half, so the one share can be divided into two shares and sell it to the market. And when it comes to scrip dividends means normally when you want to give dividends to the shareholders, you give it as cash. But instead of giving cash, if you want to give them the option to get more shares as the dividend, you call it scrip dividend. So as the dividends, you are getting more shares instead of cash. That is what you call as scrip dividends. Then let's go to the foreign trade. All right. So what do we mean by foreign trade? Foreign trade means the exchange of capital, goods and services across different countries, irrespective of the geographical distances, irrespective of the international borders. So you can do the transactions with different countries. If you want to bring down a vehicle to Sri Lanka, you can get it imported from Japan. You can get it import from Germany. Or if the Russians want to drink the Ceylon tea, they can import our tea from here to there. So we can export our Ceylon tea to Russia. Or if we want to enjoy the finest coffee in the world from Brazil, we can import the coffee beans from Brazil to Sri Lanka. So this is what we call as foreign trade. The trade occurs between different countries, irrespective of the international borders or geographical distances. When it comes to the Sri Lankan context, until 1977, we had a closed economy. What do you mean by closed economy? Closed economy is a self-sufficient economy where they don't interact with other countries. Whatever we consume will be produced in the country. We don't import from anyone. We don't export to anyone. So until 1977, we had a economy like that because we were self-sufficient. If we want to have clothes, we would stitch it in the country itself. If we want to get rice, we cultivate rice within the Sri Lankan territory itself. We don't do imports. But after 1977, we became an open economy where we started interacting with other countries, so that we started doing imports and exports. And as a result, we were able to enjoy goods and services which couldn't be produced by ourselves. When it comes to vehicles, Sri Lanka, still we don't have a manufacturing plant to come up with vehicles from the scratch to the final output. Yeah, there are different manufacturing plants for assembling and different kinds of activities, but still we have to import the different parts from different countries to do the assembling. So we don't have a vehicle plant to make a car from the scratch itself with the materials produced in Sri Lankan border. Due to that, due to the open economy, we got the opportunity of enjoying a lot of goods and services from different countries. And at the same time, the rest of the countries were able to enjoy our goods as well. Because before 1977, we couldn't export our finest tea, which is the best tea in the world. But with the open economy, we started doing exports as well as imports as per the demand. So this is the foreign trade. And what are the reasons behind free trade, or rather the foreign trade? Because there has to be a reason why we import something from a different country instead of buying it from a local supplier. There has to be a reason why we have the opportunity to export something to a different country instead of those countries would find the similar product from their suppliers themselves. So these are the bases. And the first base is the inequality distribution of natural resources. When it comes to natural resources, country to country, the geographical difference is there. Depending on the location you are having, you have a natural resource advantage, and based on that advantage, you can produce something which cannot be found in somewhere else. Due to that, you have the natural resource advantage. When it comes to Sri Lanka, our hill country has the climate which is the most suitable climate for tea, and as a result, Ceylon tea is the finest tea in the world. So we have the natural advantage for tea. Likewise, Brazil has the climate and the land, the suitable land for the coffee plantation. When it comes to the coffee bean, the world's finest coffee bean can be found from Brazil. And at the same time, when it comes to crude oil is massively available in Middle East countries, mainly in Saudi Arabia. Due to that, they are having these oil extraction points to get the oil out of the spill and sell it all over the world. So these countries have the natural resource advantage over the rest of the countries, and as a result, the trade happens. And the next reason is the relative cost advantage. When it comes to doing production, all the companies would like to reduce their cost. For that, they find different options to do their production in the least cost possible manner. A country like Sri Lanka, you can find the garment factory labor relatively at a cheaper rate compared to other countries. Even in Bangladesh, even in India, you can find cheap labor due to the economic conditions compared to Europe and US. You can do your garment manufacturing process at a cheaper rate in countries like us. Because of that, brands like Calvin Klein, the Mark and Spencer, Nike has offshored their production to companies like MAS or Brandex located in Sri Lanka to do the production. Even though the mother company is in Europe or US, the production happens in Sri Lanka. And when it comes to Apple devices, right, when it comes to the mobile phones, the smart watches, to the laptops, to anything else, the designs are happen in California, in Silicon Valley, in the head office. But the production of the Apple devices are occurred in the factory called Foxconn in China. Why? Because the tech devices can be made at a cheaper rate in a country like China. So in order to get that relative cost advantage, Apple production is occurred at Foxconn in China. So this is how another reason why the free trade happens, to get the relative cost advantage. This is another example. Actually, this is an extreme example. When it comes to Nike Flyknit shoe collection, they have offshored their different functions to different countries. Even though a shoe is a small thing, different parts of the shoe has been offshored to different countries. So this is designed and marketed worldwide by Nike in US, because they are the mother company. But the rest of the parts are done by different countries. The machine for seamless knitting for upper is designed and produced by a German company. So the seamless knit part is happened in the German. Ultra light performance fabric for making the upper is produced by Trisha Fabric USA. So that part is done by USA. Upper is knitted by MAS Matrix, a subsidiary of MAS Handlings located in MAS Fabric Park, Tulhiriya, Sri Lanka. So the upper part of the knit is done by MAs located in Sri Lanka. Then rubber sole is produced and the shoe assembled in Vietnam. So the final assembling is happening at Vietnam. But then again, small features are produced and shipped by different countries. So the USA is doing marketing, one part is done by Germany, another part is done by USA, and the upper knit is done by Sri Lanka, and the final assembling is happening at Vietnam. So in order to get the relative cost advantage, this is an extreme condition where you have gone to the extent of utilizing different countries for a small thing like a pair of shoes to be produced over different countries. Then legal monopoly and technology. Due to copyrights, due to patents, or different technological skills, some industries are owned by different countries due to the legal monopoly they have. When it comes to the automobile industry, most of the patents are owned by German companies and Japanese companies, automobile makers. Because of that, the automobile giants can be found in these two countries. So when it comes to vehicles, we know for a fact if you want to get a luxurious vehicle, you need to buy a car from Germany. It can be a Mercedes-Benz, it can be a BMW. And when it comes to a durable vehicle, a reliable and durable vehicle, you need to go for a Toyota because it's a lifetime vehicle. That's what Japanese are boasting about. So that you will get the opportunity to keep the legal monopoly and the technological benefits from Japan. So this is another reason why the trade happens. Then the goods promotion. So this is another reason. Even though some products can be found anywhere in the world, some countries do some extensive marketing and promotions to make sure that it is only available in their country, even though it is available in other countries. You can go and experience it in other countries, but you don't get the correct utility. And if you want to get the perfect satisfaction, you need to come for our country. To get that vibe, to give that understanding to the customer, they do some extensive promotions and marketing to promote their country. Things such as casino. When it comes to casino, in most of the countries, you can find casino clubs. But the Las Vegas has been considered as the best place for casinos in the world, located in US, so that they have done the promotion to the level where if you want to get the real feeling, the real satisfaction of casino, you need to come to Las Vegas in US. Yes, you can go somewhere and do it, but you don't get it right. So they have done the promotions to the extent where you need to come to US to get the real casino experience. And similarly, chocolates. Chocolates can be found anywhere in the world. There are different brands from different countries. Even in Sri Lanka, you can find brands like Candos, right? But then again, if you want to eat a classy chocolate, we would go for Swiss chocolates. So the Swiss chocolates, yes, of course, it has the highest quality, highest combination of milk and cocoa. But then again, they have done the promotions to the extent where if you want to eat a real chocolate, it has to be a Swiss chocolate. So this is another way in which you can promote the free trade. And the final way would be the trade barriers. Even though the free trade occurs with any barriers at all, there can be trade barriers in between. such as a trade block, or you can put embargoes, completely avoiding any foreign trade between that country. Or you can say that you will charge a lot of tariff taxes on a particular good coming from a particular country. Or you can say that the patent process, the registration process, the documentary process can be too lengthy and too rigid to avoid the free trade. But if you don't have any trade barriers as such, if your government is letting you to do foreign trade with other countries freely, you can do the transactions with the international countries freely. So this is another free trade basis. So when it comes to trade barriers, if the trade barriers are minimized, you can freely trade with others. The free trade means if you have the opportunity to share goods and services with other countries, irrespective of the international borders, you call it a free trade. One way that you can do free trade is minimal trade barriers, and some countries would do better promotions and marketing to promote their goods and services to show that their product is best compared to others. Or else some countries would have legal monopolies with patents and copyrights, or they have the technological skills. Or it can be a relative cost advantage where one country can produce something at a lesser cost compared to rest of the countries. Or it can be the differences in natural resources, and due to that difference, you have the absolute advantage to produce something way better than the rest of the others. So these are the basis behind the free trade. And coming back to the foreign trade, in a nutshell, foreign trade is where the exchange of goods and services between different countries, irrespective of international borders or geographical distances. Are we clear? Any questions? If not, you can say that you are clear up to now. Right, great. So moving forward, we have different types of trade barriers in terms of tariffs and non-tariffs and some other matters. So these are the things that I wanted to discuss with you for the first day. I didn't want you to pump up with a lot of things during the first 2 hours. And I believe it's a good time to take a break and call it a day. So the next week class, the next week session, I believe we are meeting again on 21st of December from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. So there we will be starting with the 2 types of barriers that will be interfering the free trade, which is the tariffs and the non-tariff barriers. From that, we will be continuing our discussion, and after that, we will be going to the last critical area, which is financial management, before I'm handing the session over to Mr. Chaminda, who will be taking you through the model paper for the business studies examination. So if there is nothing else, if you're all clear up to now, we can wind up the session and call it a day. Are we good to go? So when it comes to SIMA, you are asking whether it is related to accounting. Well, back in those days, let's say before 2015, Yes, it was a qualification mostly with the accounting areas. But now it has been a general qualification which taught the different elements in the business. As I mentioned earlier at the very beginning, it will teach you about accounting, sales and marketing, IT, HR, supply chain, and everything. So the CMA's objective right now is making you a competent CEO, Chief Executive Officer, not an accountant. If you want, you can pursue yourself in the finance department. But then again, now the CMA is more of a general business qualification, a business management qualification, because you are learning all the functions in a business, and it will bring you the opportunity to becoming a CEO. Did I clear your doubt? Right. So everyone is saying everything is clear and no more questions. So let's wind up the session. Thank you very much for being with us during the first day of the Business Studies A-Level seminar, and hope to see you all again during the second day as well. This will be a course of 5 days. All 5 days, please stay with us and we can share or discuss further details at the last day, which I am planning to do with you, because it is not just about the A-Level. At the last day, let's discuss how we can go to the next level after your A-Level examination. All right. Thank you very much and have a good night.